Welcome to The Explainer. We're jumping right in today because we are taking a magnificent virtual journey to a place that literally redefines the concept of history. We're heading over to Osaka, Japan, to explore Shitennoji. Now, this isn't just any historical site. We're talking about Japan's oldest officially administered Buddhist temple, established over 1,400 years ago. So get ready, because we are going to walk through centuries of sheer resilience, absolutely striking architecture, and some profound spiritual dedication. Let's do this.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Think about the Osaka we know today. You probably picture a sprawling, neon-lit, concrete metropolis, right? But rewind over a millennium ago, and much of that modern city was actually underwater. Shitennoji sits on what was once the Umachi Plateau, which was basically a peninsula completely surrounded by the waters of Kawachi Bay. Realizing that massive shift in the physical landscape really puts things into perspective. It just highlights the staggering scale of time that this temple has stood watch over an ever-changing city.
So, here is our virtual tour map for today. 1. Ancient Osaka's sacred origins. 2. Prince Shotoku's spiritual pledge. 3. The unique Shitennoji architecture. 4. Highlight the stone torii. 5. Highlight pagoda and kondo. And finally, 6. A legacy of resilience.
All right, stop number 1. Ancient Osaka's sacred origins, the gateway to Japan.
You know, before it was the massive culinary and commercial hub we know today, ancient Osaka was actually Japan's premier international port and political capital. That Uemachi Plateau, jetting right out into the ocean, was an incredibly strategic spot for trade and diplomacy with the Asian continent. I mean, this was the site of the early Naniwa-no-miya Palace and these massive royal tombs. It was a place of immense power. So the big takeaway here is if you're going to build a grand monumental temple to signal the arrival of a brand new national religion, this bustling, elevated gateway was the absolute perfect setting.
Moving on to Section 2, Prince Shotoku's spiritual pledge.
Prince Shotoku was this visionary royal and political figure in 6th century Japan. And it turns out the foundation of Shitennoji wasn't just some peaceful community building project. It was literally born in the fires of a brutal religious war. Shotoku was fighting alongside the pro-Buddhist Soga clan against the anti-Buddhist Mononobe clan. And when the battle started turning against him, he actually carved statues of the Shitenno, the 4 heavenly kings, and made a profound pledge. He promised that if they granted him victory, he'd build a temple in their honor to save all living beings. Well, he won, and in 593 AD, he fulfilled that exact promise, permanently cementing the foundation of Japanese Buddhism.
So the temple was founded in 593 AD, but man, its survival has been anything but easy. Over the centuries, it was repeatedly ravaged by fires and wars. In 1934, the catastrophic Maruto typhoon leveled the 5-story pagoda and completely ruined the complex. And then, just 11 years later in 1945, the Osaka air raids burned almost the entire grounds to ashes. But, incredibly, by 1963, the inner complex was perfectly rebuilt. Despite all that immense tragedy, the local people continually banded together to fund and reconstruct their beloved temple. It's just a stunning testament to human resilience.
All right, Part 3, the unique Shitennoji architecture.
What makes the physical space of Shitennoji so incredibly special is the Shitennoji-style Garen layout. This is actually the oldest architectural style in Japan. It was heavily influenced by 6th century styles from China and the Korean peninsula, and it features this precise geometrical alignment. So from south to north, you've got the middle gate, the pagoda, the main hall, and the lecture hall, all arranged in a perfectly straight line, surrounded by a beautiful covered corridor. Seriously, stepping inside that corridor feels like stepping directly back into the Asuka period.
Which brings us to Section 4, and our first big highlight, the stone torii.
Now, if you know a bit about Japanese religious architecture, this next stop might really make you scratch your head. Torii gates are pretty much globally recognized as the entrances to Shinto shrines, right? So why on earth does Japan's oldest officially administered Buddhist temple have a massive torii gate marking its entrance?
The history here is absolutely fascinating. When the temple was founded, this gate was originally made of wood, but it was actually rebuilt using solid stone way back in 1294. That makes it one of the oldest of its kind. While today we tend to strictly separate Shinto shrines and Buddhist temples, historically, those boundaries were beautifully fluid. The torii simply marks the transition from the mundane, everyday world into a sacred space. So this stone gate brilliantly illustrates that ancient, peaceful blending of indigenous and imported faiths. It's a really rare sight in modern Japan.
Let's head deeper inside for Section 5, the pagoda and the kondo.
Soaring right above the grounds is the Goshu-no-to, the 5-story pagoda. Now this structure isn't just an observation deck, though, to be fair, you can climb to the top for an unbelievable view of the Osaka cityscape. But it's actually a deeply spiritual reliquary. Legend has it that Prince Shotoku buried 6 of his own hairs, along with the ashes of the Buddha, right within its foundation stone. The purpose? To emit saving grace to all living beings trapped across the 6 realms of Buddhist cosmology. It's literally the spiritual anchor of the entire city.
And right behind the pagoda sits the kondo, the main hall. Check out that brilliant, vivid vermilion color. That's a classic hallmark of ancient continental design. Inside rests the temple's principal deity, the Kuzei Kannon, the Bodhisattva of compassion. And standing fierce guard all around the Kannon are the statues of the 4 heavenly kings. This just brilliantly illustrates the ultimate fulfillment of that desperate battlefield promise Prince Shotoku made 1400 years ago. Every single day, these deities are honored here, exactly as the prince intended.
And finally, Section 6, a legacy of resilience.
I think this visitor review from Chen Suzhen perfectly captures the magic of Shitennoji today. When you step off the bustling streets of Osaka, a city totally famous for its street food, massive neon signs, and towering skyscrapers, and enter these temple grounds, time just stops. Whether you're gazing up at that ancient Garon layout or walking through the tranquil Gokuraku Jodo Garden, which represents the Buddhist Pure Land, you find this profound, solid peace. It's a peace that has anchored this community through typhoons, world wars, and centuries of intense modernization.
So we've seen how a single, desperate pledge by Prince Shotoku birthed the sanctuary that the people of Osaka have absolutely refused to let die for 1400 years. And I want to leave you with this thought to mull over. In our incredibly fast-paced, ever-changing world, what foundations are we laying down right now? What are we building today that's going to inspire that kind of breathtaking resilience and peace for the next 14 centuries? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep exploring, and I'll see you next time.